Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under. Off with one terrible roar. We live in flame, we'll go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Over hill, over down, we have hit the dusty trail, and those caissons go rolling along. Counter march right about, hear those wagon soldiers shout, while those caissons go rolling along. For it's high, high here in the field artillery. Call off your numbers, but it's strong. 2, 3, 4, and where we go, you will always know that those caissons are rolling along. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day, 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 day. Through our last night on shore, anchors away. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, I Coast Guard, we are for you. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
Room 10 Hut! You're listening to MilitaryChatRadio.com.
Hey, and how are you? Today's another day, and here we are with my special guest today, Mr. Antonio Ramirez. Mr. Antonio Ramirez is a commercial photographer, and he does all of his photography taking pictures of the different aspects of the American government, and which I mean by he takes pictures for the Air Force, for the Navy, and for the Army, right?
That is correct.
Yes. And Antonio, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and what's going on with you, and then we'll get into all the other little things that happened with you and what you're doing.
Oh, okay. So it's a pleasure to be here in your show. And I was born in Mexico, and then in 1982, I decided to come to United States. I was doing just a visit for vacation.
Okay.
And then I realized that the money that the people were making here, it was, at that time, with the comparing the dollar with the Mexican peso, I was making $10 a month on my regular job.
All right.
So
and that's
like
Mexican. That's with the pesos.
With the Mexican
Okay,
peso.
all
So
right
it's like,
then, okay.
and at that time, the salary was $3.33
Per hour.
per hour.
Okay, then. Yeah.
So it's like
low.
wow, I can do in one day, excuse me, I can do in one day what I make in
1 month.
in a month, you know,
Yeah, I gotcha.
in Mexico. So I asked my sister, well, if you can sponsor me, I can stay here and get my residence. So she did, and we started doing. I really like the way the people live here in the United States,
Right.
and we did the paperwork to get my green card, and at that time it was very easy to get a green card.
Yeah. Well, because I know now with with everything happening 9/11, the whole 9 yards, the whole process has really slowed down quite a bit, and it's really a monster to get any of those things these days. So, go ahead, continue.
And sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
And then after I got my citizen in 1986 because Ronald Reagan was the president at that time, and he actually helped me in a way that all the people that had a green card,
Mhm.
he signed a law, the Simpson-Macaulay law,
Yeah, that was
and
amnesty law.
so amnesty law in 1986. So I became American citizen in July 4, 1986,
Oh, okay. Independence Day, huh?
Independence Day.
Okay. Well, and since then, you've been here, and what have you been doing? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, basically, I started working with Marine Corps. I was living in San Diego, and I started working driving a bus.
Okay.
At the
Doing what?
driving the new recruits for MCRD.
These are all the guys guys and young ladies who enlisted, and this is
Enlisted.
their first time going off to training, or when they first get there.
It's
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
day they walk in with
Yes.
long hair
Yes.
and
And
they
they make
have
that change.
Levi's and everything. So I go pick them up. I used to
Mhm.
go pick them up at the USO at
Yes.
the airport in San Diego.
Oh, okay then. You were
The-
one of those guys who, as we get there, somebody says, "Okay, get on the
So
bus."
This
Yes.
is getting
All
the
right.
bus. So I used to drive the people from the airport to the MCRD, which is like 3 miles
Mhm.
distance. And then you get to the drill sergeants.
Oh yeah.
It says, okay,
Yes.
here you go. These are yours. And I was a subcontractor for this company called Prime Ride.
Right.
So they had the contract with the government to drive all the Marines. So then after I drive them, all the new recruits, we wait for them, and like 3 hours later, they come up with the hair already cut,
They made that change. They started
And-
on that new
and
change
they started
that they had in
getting,
their life.
and then driving straight to Camp Pendleton.
Right.
And one of the notes that I used to like all the time, because when you got from the airport to the Marine Corps, they're all talking, where are you and everything.
Yeah.
And once the drill sergeant and they have all the haircut done, they had to put the heads on between almost on their knees.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to drive 55 miles from Marine Corps Depot to Camp Pendleton. And they had to going like that.
Yeah. Well, all of a sudden the change came
It's
about.
welcome
they
to the
realized
military
what-
life.
Yeah, they realized what was coming about then. So it was that change. So you got a chance to see what it was really like if you had joined, and
Yes.
what your first day would be like.
Yes, and actually, and then after what was it? 6 weeks. Boot
Mhm.
camp was around, I think, 6
8
weeks.
weeks.
8
basic-
weeks.
Basic training.
Yeah, it's a boot camp. Then I picked them up at the for graduation.
Right.
But it's they used to come Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
They come the new recruits. They come on Wednesday, and then they have family day on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Then Friday is graduation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They
And
give them
then
a couple of days. to
And
get
then after
acclimated
graduation,
to
they
it.
get 2 weeks off. They go
On
with the
leave,
family.
yes.
They are on leave, and then come back 2 weeks later, and they
Mhm.
had to report to Marine to the Camp
It-
Pendleton.
Yeah, for the rest of their training, and then
Yes.
that's when everything is a difference again. Well, you
Yes.
know what? That's kind of pretty good. So now you did that for a while, and then after you finished that, what was your next step in your progression to where you are today?
Well, I started working for the zoo, and
Which
and
zoo was this?
San Diego Zoo,
Okay.
and then I got to move to Sacramento, California.
Okay. Well, listen. Let's go back a little bit.
Right.
Now, what did you do at the Sacramento?
At the
zoo?
San Diego Zoo,
Right.
I was a photographer.
Okay. Now,
And-
now this is the thing. When you started taking pictures,
Mhm.
okay, was this something you had already been doing, or is this something you just got into, or what? How did that come about?
Well, I became a photographer when I was 6 years old,
Okay.
and I was in kindergarten in the first grade, and in Mexico, and I was just, the little kids looking all over the places, and I found my mother's camera on her closet.
Okay.
So it was a little Kodak camera. So I took the camera and I took it to school, and I started taking pictures of my little friends
Oh, okay.
in the school. But I didn't know that inside there was a film that my mom's supposed to develop,
Get developed.
and then
yes.
she will be able to see the pictures. And it's like, Antonio, you took my camera to school,
Mhm.
and I was denied when all my friends are in the film,
So
So
she
they-
found out what you were up to.
Yeah, so then for Christmas, she gave me a camera.
So that's how you started.
I started taking pictures, and at 9 years old, I was a wedding photographer.
Oh, really?
Yes,
nine?
I was taking pictures at night. And then at 11 o'clock,
11 years old.
11 years old, I became a photographer for the local newspaper.
Okay.
And at 17, I became United Press International photographer,
Oh, okay.
working
that's
for
really
in
great.
Mexico.
Well,
Yeah.
working in Mexico. Well, now, so your career with photography was something from a childhood passion all the
Is-
way up to a career-changing move for you.
Yes, and it's been since, actually, I don't call it work. I call it my hobby.
Hobby, yes. Well,
Because it's like I'm doing some jobs which my photography is being giving me the pleasure to go to 22 countries, travel in 22 countries, and I still get paid for.
Well, that's sort of like being a basketball player, you get
it's
to
just
do
like-
what you like to do and get paid for it. But now that's taken you all over, and you've taken quite a few pictures. And so now you're doing something that you really like to do. So now, when did you make the transition from doing regular photography to the military?
Military. That's when I became. I went to live to Sacramento, California,
Mhm.
and at that time, used to be a base, a logistics base.
Okay.
It was called McClellan Air Force Base,
Okay.
which is now closed.
Okay. Yeah. well,
And
it got
there
the
used to
budget
be
axe.
two bases in
Yeah.
Sacramento. One of them was Mater Air Force Base, and the other one was McClellan. So I became a photographer and a volunteer for the museum.
Mhm.
They were looking for volunteers, and they have air shows and a lot of events. So I became a photographer volunteer
Right.
for the museum. And then later on, my pictures, some people start asking me if they can publish my pictures. There was a magazine called Air Power. Actually,
Right.
I didn't even know if that magazine is still available right now.
That's something I'll look up and see if
Yeah.
it's still going.
And so they start publishing my pictures. And then I got contact.
Okay, so someone
But
contacted you.
the
Okay.
military says, we would like to see if you can take the pictures for the Blue Angels.
Okay.
So, and I
Well,
says, well, okay.
so were you very excited about that?
So
But-
I got excited because then from Sacramento I had to go to El Centro, California, where is where the basic base for the Blue Angels are. The
Oh, okay.
training
Mhm.
is in El Centro, California.
Well, before you started that, had you ever heard of the Blue Angels? Did you know anything
Oh yes,
about them?
because we used to do
Okay.
the air shows,
Oh, okay.
and I used to know the Thunderbirds and the Blue
Okay.
Angels. So
All right then.
they were the mains. I used
Yeah,
to go.
those are the ones that tour all over here and
Yes.
come
So-
here to Tampa from MacDill to do the same thing.
And so I get to know the Blue Angels. So when basically they hired me to do a calendar for the Blue Angels, I was thrilled. It's like, yeah, I can do that. So, but then I reported to El Centro, California,
Right.
and so they start. I got my cameras, and then I start going through a basic program to get fit to be able to pull 9G forces.
Okay.
And when they told me we're gonna train you to go to the inside the airplane, it's like, sure, So it's like,
It was something different for
wow,
you.
it was so different. So I got my basic training to start flying.
How did you
and-
feel about that?
Yeah, it was just amazing. My first time flying was with the Blue Angels. It was just incredible. I did not took my camera because they were taking some pictures of me. There were some photographers there and some
Okay.
videos. They took pictures of me going into the airplane, and and at that time, I was just wanted to know how many G forces I can pull.
Right. So,
And that was my basic training, So
Mhm.
how you gonna do it? Because basically they didn't get me the job officially until they knew that I can do it,
Right.
and I was able to fit. I was fit to do so. So I just started flying, and I didn't black out.
Okay.
And
So you stayed.
so
you hung in there, right?
I was able to pull up to 7 positive G forces
Oh, that's a
and
lot.
8 negative G force.
And so that ensured the fact that you'd have that job. In other words.
Yes, and I was able to fly. So then they start taking pictures. I start bringing my cameras.
Mhm.
So during the flight training, I start flying
Mhm.
in a Blue Angel, number 7.
Yes, because I've seen some of your pictures, and I see that a lot of them are aerial
Yes.
photography.
Yes.
And that is amazing, because I was saying, gee, a lot of those look like they're up there. And then when you were telling me that some of them were taken from an actual plane, that was something else. So now you got the job, and then
So yeah, and there are some calendars with my name on it, photographer Antonio Ramirez. If you look at the Blue Angels website,
oh, really?
yeah, you can go to it's the 1999 calendar, 2000 and 2001 calendars are
Okay.
for the Blue Angels. So then I became a photographer for Department of Defense with public affairs.
Okay.
So every January 15 of each year, there is in the Navy, a day, January 15, is called Picture Day, which means they take all the boats that are in San Diego,
Right.
they take them up to the ocean and to the open sea, and then they fly. They used to fly me around and take the pictures of the Navy ships around.
Okay. And then that's what. Now, how did you get that job? Did they call you up, or is it something that you applied for?
No, they called me up because of the Blue Angels work that I
Because
have.
everything that you have done, then another branch of the service has contacted you to do something
That is
else.
correct. So, and then they start giving me, Department of Defense start giving me assignments. We need this from the Air Force. We need this from the Army. So if you go to any recruiting center right now, the pictures, the posters you see in the recruiting centers, they have my name on it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay then. And that's from the time that you started taking pictures. Now all of these have your name on it.
Yes.
I'll have to get one because
Yeah,
I used
you're
to be
gonna
a
see it.
recruiter,
Yeah.
so I know
So-
those posters very well.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
not all of them, but
Yeah.
and that's great, because you know what? You never run across anyone who does anything like that, and just to get you, is a plus, because we try to get everybody who has something to do, who has something to offer, in the same category that military that falls under the military heading. And this is just something different. Plus, the other thing that I'm looking at is, listen, you came here, and this is the other aspect of it. You came from Mexico, and this is kind of almost like having your American dream come true.
It is.
And it just goes to show you what a great country this is, and the fact that you can come, have nothing going, and if the pieces fall the right way and you make things happen, how far you can really go.
This United States is a great country. As I say, I've been traveling 22 countries. And every time I go to a different country, and you get to see how the government works in different countries and how the people live. Every time I come back from different assignments in different countries, every time I get off on the airplane, I kiss the ground. United States ground. And people see me, it's like, what are you doing? Because I'm very proud to be American citizen. We live in the best country in the world. There are some people don't like how the government is running, but it's still a good country.
Here's the thing. When you're a person who can take anything and you can take it for granted, and your rights are guaranteed regardless of what you basically say, because here in the United States, we just about can talk about anyone and say just about whatever, as long as it's not over the top, too much over the top. And in a lot of countries, that's just not going to happen. You say anything about the government, you say the slightest little something, and that's it for you. But here, it's almost like there's no limit as to almost what you can say about people who are here. You talk about the president, you can talk about his whole family, you can talk about everybody else, every person that you could think about, police chief, you name it. But our thing is, Americans take everything for granted. It's because, you come up with it. So therefore, it's here and you don't have to really fight for it, except for certain things. And then when we get them, we just say, what the heck, we don't have to worry about it. It's ours. But when you go somewhere else and all of a sudden everything is totally locked down and you can't say anything or do anything, then they learn to appreciate what they have. It's like having great parents. And then you lose them and you get someone else, who is the same.
And that's excuse me, I don't know what is going on with my throat today. And that's one of the things about this country, when I was in Sacramento, I have a person that I drove to the airport.
Right.
And I was listening, we were listening the radio. And then we interrupt this program to let you know that we start bombing Gaddafi.
Right.
And then it's like, wow, what a war. The very first thing I did after I dropped my friend at the airport, I went to, oh man, sorry.
Okay.
I went to the airport and I dropped my friend and came back. I went to my house and I got my American flag. And I went to Office Depot and bought me a marker and
Right.
and I make my sign. It says support the to support the American troops.
Right.
And then after that, I went to the Capitol, and I stood up in the Capitol. And then later on, Vietnam
Memorial.
A Vietnam soldier,
Okay.
he came up to me and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Yeah, we're at war." So he came back and with his flag too.
Yeah.
So and then we created the biggest support for the troops. So with that mean, what I'm going with this is like you are not allowed to do that in different countries.
No.
And here you had the protesters on one side and you have the supporters on the other side.
And it's going to be, it'll probably always be that way. But again, you know, and you summed it up very nicely. That's the way it's always going to be because, you know, there have been people that whenever there's a war or anything else going on, you have supporters, you have protesters. But you know what? It's unfortunate for the guys who are serving, the men and women who are there fighting to have people protesting what they're doing. But listen, we go on. We're soldiers and we carry on because we know that whatever we're doing for the better good. And a lot of people don't see it. But then again, like I said, a lot of people take a lot of things for granted because they can do it. And this is a country that's not going to say you can't do this or you can't do that, you know, unless it's violating something that's, if it's so wrong, you know, like if they're rioting or destroying things, then that's when the government will probably step in and say, hey, listen, we got to put a halt to this. You're listening to Military Chat Radio and the Al Young Show, and the number, if you'd like to call in, is 727-493-2055. And today we're with Antonio Ramirez, who is a commercial photographer for the United States government, and he takes pictures of all kinds of different events and different things within the government, and especially pictures of aircraft and boats and, you know, different signs. You'll find them in the recruiting stations like you were saying a little bit earlier, which is really nice to know because when you look at that, and if you look at that poster and you see Antonio Ramirez, remember this is the face that goes along with it. Because whenever something's done, we see a name, but we never know who did it unless it's probably a Rembrandt or something in that vein, you know. So Antonio, so now you've been doing that for a while, and do you enjoy it? I mean, all the traveling, I guess it's got to keep you busy.
Yes, and you know, the biggest satisfaction that I had one time was, I remember, and this is, I don't know, you're going to understand this because you're in the military. We have the Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier.
Right.
And they have everybody on the whites and on the top.
Okay, yeah. When
for,
they're first coming into port.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was going to be taking the picture. So the pilot of the helicopter where I am opened the door and start asking me, we have communications with the carrier. So he asked me, do you want the aircraft carrier in that position? Do you want me to fly? And he says, no, tell them to move the carrier this way. And he goes, I can do that. No. He says, you don't understand. I want to be able to tell the shift of that carrier to turn it the way I want it.
That was a tall order.
The pilot looked at me, it's like, what are you doing? It's like, hey, just give me that little moment of glory. So he called the aircraft carrier and they move it a little bit.
Well, yeah. Well, listen, this was something for them. And now, what that particular picture, was that something that was put up somewhere?
Yes, it's the Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. If you go to you can go to the www.Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier, and you see the pictures that I took there.
Okay.
And they have my name on it too.
Well, see, I think in a lot of instances, what they want to do is when they want something done, they want it done, and they want it done the right way. So as long as it's done, and because I mean, advertisement or anything that's taken, they want the absolute best. So I don't think they would have had you taking these pictures if you yourself were not the best. You know, so I mean, you got to pat yourself on the back on that one.
It was just like something that, you know, I gonna do this, and I did it, and and they did.
Did the Navy love it?
Yeah, so
And see,
it's
that's
like
that's
that.
the most important thing right there. Because
I-
if they love the picture and it's there, then you did the right thing. Because the government to get them to do a lot of things sometimes is a little difficult.
when I have another story that when I was in Sacramento, California, I was at McClellan Air Force Base. They used to have the F-111,
Right.
and General Gear came to me and says, let's go for a flight. And they prepared me to go into a F-111 flight. So the F-111 has the seats side by side.
Right.
So I'm flying with him, and he took me for 1 hour flying with him, and we came back, and the local newspaper from the base is there. So they took my pictures, and so we're done with the military, with the base, and they published a little report. Somehow the newspaper got in hold of a civilian, and they run out the article on the Sacramento Bee, but they did it on the ground way because they were protesting how the U.S. Air Force was spending thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money just to give a flight to a civilian.
But they didn't know what it was really about then.
They didn't know what it was, but
Mhm.
but that was I didn't have my cameras and everything, but they didn't know, but that was a protest, and I still had the newspaper for the Sacramento Bee.
Well,
A lot of people protest that they spend more than $10,000 just to give me a 1 hour flight.
well, you listen, to be frank with you, when people are hurting or anything, they're going to protest like crazy. Like right now, I'm sure every little penny that the government spends, there's somebody looking and somebody's going to make some type of comment. So there's nothing you can do to get away from that. It's wild because, we're going to spend money to do the things that we need to do. And the things that happen are that we do these things. And then when they look at it, there's somebody who's saying, guess what? Gee, they spent $1,000 just to print something. And they could have saved it if they would have done this way or that way. But, we do what we do. And it's unfortunate that there are people who protest everything that you do. Sometimes they just sit back and wait for you to make one move, and the first thing they want to do is protest it. So what can you do? You just continue to march. I mean, you don't want to be wasteful. I mean, because at this point in the game, nobody wants to spend more than they have to for anything. But at the same time, you do have to get things done, and it costs money for everything. There's nothing out there that's free other than advice and people talking about whatever they want to talk about. Other than that, everything else has to be paid for. When I go to the gas pump these days, I don't want to look at those prices. And I'd like to say, hey, let things be a lot cheaper than they are. But, there's somebody out there who's saying, oh, gee, for anyone to go flying now or take a civilian up or do anything, it's costing us money. But these things happen. You can't have a government and can't do anything without someone saying something. So what do? You just keep on marching.
Yes, and see, that's one of the things that is great about this country, that you can have supporters and you can have protesters.
Always. I mean,
And
I think if it was any other way,
And
we'd
it's
go
just
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, some of those things that you had to do.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's going to happen when it comes down to military spending. A lot of times, people are saying, well, why don't you cut the fat in the military? Why don't you cut the fat in civilian life? Either way you go, we could look at what one group spends and another group will look at what the military spends. So it's always going to be some type of conflict, and somebody is looking to save money somewhere, and they're saying, where do we save that money from? Where in the government do we get a chance to cut back on? And to me personally, I don't see cutting back on military. I mean, because that's something that I'm a part of, and I look at it as an insider and saying, nope, wrong place to cut. Well, you don't want to say cut everybody else, but at the same time, well, don't start here.
Yes, and it's the military sometimes is helps to develop more different things for civilians to access.
Well, listen.
Like the first, remember when the military was using the Hummers?
Oh,
Now
yeah.
the civilians, they have
yeah.
the Hummers. And there is a lot of things that
GPS systems.
The GPS.
I mean, I go no place without my GPS. Where do you think we got that from? You know what I'm saying? So here we are. And it's something that, I mean, everybody and his mother just about has these days, especially for us guys or people who don't want to stop and ask for help. The first thing we do is buy a GPS, and that way we can go on about our way and feel confident. Yes.
Every cell phone, sometimes I'm walking, and if I go to a concert or someplace, I tag my car where I park my car, and then when I get up, I put my GPS to find my car.
Yeah, but see, we take it for granted, but at the same time, it was something that had a development there.
In the military.
Yes, but again, what do we say? We say to them, hey, if you're going to cut or if you're going to make some changes, don't start here. Find someplace else to start. But then everybody else is going to say the same thing. But you know what? The people who are protecting you, who are keeping you safe, who are making sure, that that you can get up in the morning and breathe a breath of fresh air, that says, hey, I'm free to do whatever I want to do. Those are the people that you need to make sure that they're well taken care of. And the military is definitely the place that's going to do that. These are the people who are going to make sure that this country always stays as it is.
That is correct. Every day in the morning when I get up in the morning, and the first things I do is to look in the computer how many people are the news about the military. I always worry about the people in Afghanistan, and some more people. It's one of the things that I have. I became American citizen. I came from another country. And sometimes I see that I do more things and I worry more than a person that is being born here.
Yeah.
And some people, they already think like just because you come from another country, it's just different. No, it's the people who come from another country appreciate more. At least I do. And I've seen a lot of American people, they come from different countries that we really want to be superior. And this is the country that you can do with everything you do everything illegal. Legal. You do everything legal. This is the best country.
Well, you know what? It's taken many years and a lot of lives to keep it that way. And we hold true to that. But Americans, again, we know that we have a strong military. We know we're being protected. We know that nobody's just going to walk up and say, okay, things are going to change. It's never going to happen that way. And as long as your military is sound and it's operating the way it should, then you won't have that problem. And I think that's what bothers so many people is when people look at the military and start saying, well, let's make cuts here and there. Some things that might be overly extravagant, then maybe you might say, okay, we can. But other things, the basic stuff, no, you have to leave that in place. You just can't start cutting everything. And now that they're drawing back, there's a lot of people who it's going to be very hard to get in the military because when the economy is bad, people start looking for homes, places to stay, and military happens to be one of them. And we're going to deal with all of those things. And if you notice, I don't know if you read the paper, and in the sense that when there are changes in the military itself, they do different little things. Like all the people coming out of college now, so many of them, a large portion of new recruits in the military now have been college graduates. It just hasn't been people
Yes.
coming out of high school. It's been college graduates.
And actually, yeah, I saw that, and also one of the things that I saw 2 weeks ago, they are hiring computer hackers,
Oh yeah, they have to. They
You
have
know,
to. They have to.
and it's like if you're a computer hacker, the military wants you.
Well,
It's just that
it's another part of.
it's a
Listen,
technology
yes.
right now.
I mean, listen, if you have computers and you got people out there who can get into anything, then you better have people who can stop them at getting into anything.
Yeah.
Because if you don't keep up with what's going on, guess what? You're the person who falls victim to the hackers.
And see, and the technology is kind of not helping me here, because now with the technology you have a very tiny cameras that the soldiers that are fighting in Afghanistan or different places, they wear in the uniform now. So now with that technology, they're taking pictures,
Of everything.
and everything. It's like now the fighter pilots also, and the airplanes, they wear helmet cameras.
Yes.
So that's my job going out to, because I don't have to be there anymore, so.
Well,
But it's just something. I'm glad that
there are
technology
things that
is
listen. Technology is always going to be there. It's always going to develop, and the military, like I was saying earlier on a different show, that there used to be that thing of the wind me up soldier, and where you could wind them up and say, basically, this is what we want you to do. Today, it's a different type of soldier. It's all technology. If you come in, they want to send you to college. They want you to be educated. They want you to be a smart person. Not that the people weren't smart, but it was basically a different type of military. Today, everything is technology driven. So when we talk about the military and we talk about civilians and we talk about anything else, there's not that big of a difference, because today, like you say, they're hiring computer hackers, because it's just like government, other agencies and other businesses out there. They hire the same people to protect them from being invaded by computer hackers. You think the government is not going to do it? Because listen, we've got more to lose if they get into our secrets.
Yes.
And I mean, when you look at WikiLeaks, these guys were getting all kind of stuff out to folks. So they got to stop stuff like that.
Yes, and I really, so that's a good approach from the military, that they're expanding everything, even the technology that they have. The immigration department, they are using that to protect our borders.
Well, you see,
The drones.
you have to. Anything that's being developed is always has more than one application in the long run. I think the only thing is, you have to, if it comes out to be like maybe a tank, it probably won't have a civilian application going, but anything else just about that, for general use, something's going to come out that's going to help us.
That is correct.
And when they start doing things with microchips and everything else, eventually it gets to us. Because like you said, when you held up your cell phone, remember how big they used to be. And
Yes,
now, look how small they are, and look what they do. Computers were something that we, one time was gigantic, fill up this whole room. That phone is probably more powerful than all those computers used to be by itself.
I remember when I got my very first cell phone, used to take the whole seat of the passenger.
Mm-hmm.
The passenger side used to take it was a kind of backpack.
Yes, they were humongous.
And I used to put antenna on
Yes.
the top of the car. Or if your cell phone was inside the car, it would not get the good signal.
Yes. Well,
So it's like-
but it shows how we've evolved, how we've grown. But a lot of this, again, is military applications that have been modified for civilian use. And, everybody thinks that when these things are made, they're only made for war. Some things, yes. Other things that are technology driven are not. I mean, it has eventually a dual purpose in life. And, we don't think about that. You know what? People see what they want to see. If there's
That
good
is
and
correct.
bad, sometimes they only want to see the bad, so they'll see the bad. But with you, what you do, you've been taking all these pictures, and now they're all over the place. But how does that make you feel? I mean, about your accomplishment?
Well, sometimes it's like I feel still that I haven't accomplished a lot.
Okay.
I want to do more.
Okay.
I never satisfied, but on the way that I have, I see sometimes they're going through magazines or websites, or then I see one of my pictures. It's like, wow, I took the picture a long time ago, and they're still using them.
Mhm.
So it makes me proud, and I still really my life with the military, flying a lot,
About
and all that.
how many pictures do you think you've taken altogether?
Altogether, my whole life, I don't know exactly, but I should say more than a million.
More than 1,000,000.
More than a million pictures. Yeah, because sometimes when you are flying, and you pull in negative G forces, or you're flying upside down, you take in a regular day taking pictures for the military, one flight, it takes around 3,000 pictures
Mm,
in just 3 or 4 hours.
that's a lot of pictures.
And there were times like I show you some pictures with the F-16s. We were flying in formation, and we were refueling. So you're gonna shoot a lot of pictures to make one right,
Yes, of course.
and because you don't have that chance, and they want you, they expect you to come up with some good pictures, at least with some.
Oh,
good
you know what?
pictures. So you
Listen.
shoot a lot of pictures.
These pictures, when they're out there, people see them. I mean, you can go to any base, or you can go to, again, anywhere, and you see these pictures, and people are amazed by them. When I've seen pictures that have been taken of aircraft, from an aircraft or anything else, you're amazed. But I never knew it was a civilian that was taking them.
Yes.
I'm always thinking that it was something going on, but you never knew what. And to meet someone who's been doing that. Now they kind of have to give you a clearance, some sort of clearance, all right?
Yes, I have some clearance
Mm-hmm.
to go to the sometimes the people when they're when I go to the bases, and I give them my name, and sometimes they have to even double check the ID because they are expecting.
Yeah, because I'm sure
so
security is pretty tight these days.
security is really tight, and especially when you go to like a military base. First of all, you got to check in the gate, and then you had to go to the officers, and they basically, you are running a background. They're running your background a lot, and now with the computer systems that they have, they can, sometimes some bases I go, I just put my fingerprint, and all my whole history comes out in there. So then I get to the flight line, and or report to the officers are in charge of the flight line, and
Right.
then when I need to find out who is going to be my pilot, and then after that it's just what kind of pictures they want and everything.
Mm-hmm. Is that a pretty competitive field? Is there a lot of people out there doing that, or is it just a select few actually?
There are some few.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few. It's just there are a few pilots, and they're taking pictures now with the small cameras, but professional photographers, they are like the
Okay.
Blue Angels I know right now, they have around 10 photographers.
Okay.
And Thunderbirds, they have around another 10 photographers now. and so there are being more photographies now.
They're
And
in-
now that the military launched another program, there are field reporters. So
Oh,
now
okay.
they are inside the military.
Okay, they're
taking
embedded with them. Yes. Okay.
and so, but now with the military, the worst chance that I have to, the more security that they had to check on me, and then really it was really hard for me to go on a KC-135 to refuel another airplanes, because we were flying with thousands of pounds of gasoline there
Right.
for to refuel, and it was very they didn't want a civilian flying into that.
Oh,
So
okay.
they had to get me to get into a KC-135 refueling and showing the pictures of F-16 or F-18 taking refueling. It was a really, really hard job to get,
Right.
but I got it. So.
And I bet those were some great pictures that came
Oh,
out.
it's just amazing. The pictures that
Mhm.
I have some pictures of F-16s. And
Do you have a website that?
No, you know what? Because some of those pictures are for and they pay for.
Oh, okay.
I'm-
Then so
I'm-
those are pictures that belong to the military, basically.
There are
Yes.
some,
Okay.
and some of them, the ones that they don't want, are the ones that I'm showing you.
Okay then.
Those are the rejects,
Okay, I got where you're
Yeah.
coming from. All right.
and
then.
those are the rejects. But if people can send me, you can send me an email at Antonio1631@gmail.com. You send me an email, and if you wanna, I can send you some pictures, whatever airplane that you want. I have pictures. I flew in B-24s, B-29s, B-17s. I've been flying F-4 Phantoms, A-1A Scout Rider.
Mm.
I've flown those. P-51s Mustangs, which are the people like P-51s. And I like that because when you are inside the airplane, the sound is completely different.
Oh,
in a
really?
P-51.
Is it more noisier?
It is a little bit more high pitch.
Right.
It's a very high pitch in the P-51 once you are inside. I've flown in L3s, A1Es, KC-135. I
Mhm.
even flew on a Constellation.
Oh, really?
It's a very old
A
airplane,
very,
a
very old
Constellation.
station. Yeah.
And I've flown F-16s, F-18s,
The Orion.
the Orions,
Right.
P-3s, and Orions. I've been, so.
Yeah. So you've been around. You've been on a lot of aircraft and you've taken a lot of pictures. Well, Antonio, I'm really glad that you were able to come and share with us
Thank
all
you.
the things
Thank you
that
for
you've
inviting
done.
me.
This has been fantastic. Again, if you'd like to get in with Antonio and get some of his pictures, give your
My
email
address
one-
is Antonio1631@gmail.com. Again, Antonio1631@gmail. And just tell me that you hear in this show, and tell me what is your favorite airplane, and I will send you some pictures.
Okay, and again, this has been the Al Young Show, and our number here is 2055. Well,
20.
today has been one of them days. But anyway, it's been great. We really had a great time, and Antonio, thank you so very much.
Thank you for the
interview.
invitation.
Okay, this is radio. This is the Al Young Show, and this is the radio station that's saying goodbye till next week.
Thank you.